Welcome! Have mercy! It is pouring out right now. One of two things is happening. Either Mother Nature is a huge Asuka fan, and these are tears of joy, or Mother Nature just found out Nia Jax is still on the roster, so these are tears of depression. But either way, it is fucking pouring out. So all apologies up front, guys, for what you may be hearing in the background. There's a lot of things the Amplified Man can do in this world. Taking on Mother Nature is just not one of them. Now on to Money in the Bank. You see, we all were relieved that the dingbat in Stamford, Connecticut did not go with Nia Jax and Baron Corbin last night. And we're also befuddled that it wasn't Aleister Black and Shayna Baszler. No, instead we were all swerved. And what ended up happening made the entire professional wrestling community in unison say, what the fuck? But is that a good thing? Or a bad thing? Oh, we're gonna talk about it. You see, this is the 2020 WWE Money in the Bank, the good, the bad, and the ugly review. This is not your grandmother's review show, unless your grandmother is completely badass. This isn't the review where you're gonna grab your Twinkies and Capri Suns and we gather around and talk about how awesome your favorite superstar is and how amazing the pay-per-view was. No, we're gonna dissect every match with my no bullshit guarantee. While we're hopefully gonna talk about some positive shit, brace yourself for the negative to be called out too, because I will be calling it out. And in the process, you may get upset, offended, and super emotional. So before you get caught up in your emotions, remember these words. You've been warned. These pay-per-view reviews usually bring in new subscribers. So to the rookie subs beginning their Amplified spring training today, I say welcome. When you join this channel, you are not just a sub or a fan of the Amplified Man, but you are an Amplified Unit member. You wear that shit like a badge of honor. They call us the bad guys in the YWC because we don't bullshit. When we call out the truth, they say we're being mean. When we drop facts, they begin to cry. When we get amplified, they run and scream, we're crazy. Well, you ain't even began to see crazy yet, motherfucker. Welcome to the show. I'll be your circus freak for the foreseeable future. So sit back, brace for impact, and allow the Amplified Man to entertain the fuck out of you. The rules are simple. Every single match on the main card only will get a tally in one of three columns. Either the good, the bad, or the ugly. Every tally that goes into the ugly column will count as two bads during our final tally count in the end. So stay the fuck away from the ugly column. Because when this is said and done, they get crossed off and it becomes two more into the bad column. I am telling you, the ugly column and any tally that goes into it can drastically change the outcome in deciding if this pay-per-view was good or bad. I cannot stress enough, stay the fuck out of the ugly column. In the event of a tie, we will then go to the pre-show matches, the kickoff, for a tiebreaker. That's the cold open, and those are the rules. The only thing left to do is to get amplified. And we ain't going to no fancy intro. We're getting right the fuck to it right now with the opening match on the main card. The pay-per-view starts off with a fatal four-way tag team championship match for the Smackdown tag titles. 8 men, 4 teams, a fucking schmoz fest. The champions, The New Day, Miz and Morrison, the Forgotten Sons, and the Lucha Summer College House birthday party. I'm going to be completely transparent with you guys. Before these teams even started this match, this thing was already destined for the ugly column. And you're asking why, BC? That's not fair, BC. But in all honesty, I've been beyond fair with this company. Time after time in pay-per-view after pay-per-view, we see one triple threat after another. Or one fatal four after another. One schmaz after another. It becomes ridiculous! Whatever happened to a champion taking on a number one contender? These days, the old man in Stamford, Connecticut has gotten lazy and no longer wants to take the time to build up number one contenders. So, instead, we get a plethora of challengers. It's no longer just the number one contenders, but also the number 2, number 3, and number 4 contenders. It's like a roller coaster. Jump on. Everybody gets a fucking turn to ride this motherfucker. Well, I'm done. If I don't take a stand for what I believe in, then I will fall for anything. For this match to get out of the ugly column, it would have to be a really, really good match. And it wasn't even close! When Big E pinned a party member, I gave no fucks. I literally did not care. When Big E pinned this house party member and his hand was raised, I had no emotion, no feeling at all, other than the fact that I was happy as fuck that it was over with. I can't stand multi-person matches anyway because I feel it is lazy booking. But when we see it time after time after time, how much redundancy can one human being take? I ask you, listening to this recording right now, how many times can you see multiple tag teams going after the championships? Whatever happened to number one contenders? Not allowing the number 2, number 3, and number 4 contenders in. Or don't try to sell me on the bullshit that everybody's a number one contender. Everybody! Everybody! We can't all be number one contenders. We can't all win the fucking lottery. We can't all get the front row on the roller coaster. We can't all be the prom king and prom queen. We cannot all achieve the top of the fucking heap. But in WWE, it is not just acceptable to book this bullshit, but it is commonplace. Gone are the days where you would see the Legion of Doom and Demolition and even the Rockers. That's how hard it was to get tag titles back in the day. The fucking Rockers, Marty Jannetty and Shawn Michaels, one of the best tag teams in the world ever. And I believe they got the titles like one time, and it didn't even really count. It was taped, but like the ropes broke. I think they were taking on the Hart Foundation. And the ropes broke, so Vince McMahon was so pissed off. And it was a taped show for, I believe, Saturday night's main event. So Vince just scrapped it. They were going to redo the match, and the Rockers were going to win the championship, but it never ended up happening, because even back then, Vince McMahon changed his mind every blink of an eye. He blinks, his mind changes. So the Rockers, because the ropes broke, they had the titles brought back to the Hart Foundation. They were supposed to redo the match. It never fucking happened. And they never got the tag titles back. That's my point. That's how hard it was back in the day. These days, all you have to do is be a tag team, and you'll eventually get the tag titles. At the very least, you'll be in a fucking tag title match. Shit, the Forgotten Sons just debuted a few weeks ago. They're already in a fucking tag title match at a pay-per-view. You can't make this shit up. There should be champions and number one contenders. This company is so fucking lazy, they don't want to take the time to build up superstars. They don't want to build up number one contenders. So what's the easiest way out? If you're a lazy motherfucker, what's the easiest thing to do? You throw everybody in there. If this was once or twice in a fucking calendar year, I'm okay with it. If it's all the fucking time, these schmaz matches, we see it in singles and tag team, then I've had a fucking enough. You can say this is not fair all you want. BC, the match was okay, man. The fact that we saw this many teams going after the tag titles again. This isn't the first, second, third, fourth, or fifth time we've seen this in recent memory. It's all the fucking time. We see it with the US Championship, the IC, the tag straps. I've had enough. This was already before they even started the match going into the ugly. They had to do something super uber impressive to get it out of the ugly. They failed the first match of the night. The Smackdown tag title match where the New Day retains their championship. This goes into the ugly column. Unremorseful, unapologetically. The second match of the night. This was an odd matchup between R-Truth and Bobby Lashley. MVP took the night off, supposedly. I mean, he was in the ring. Him and R-Truth were having words, and all of a sudden, Bobby Lashley comes out, and MVP is like, great, I can go back to catering now. See ya. See you later. Bye. MVP took the night off. Lashley manhandled R-Truth in like 3 minutes. Truth tried entertaining us with his comedy, but there's no way I can put this into the good column. And I want to because I love R-Truth stuff. But this just wasn't good, guys. Be honest with yourself. It's not going into the ugly because I don't mind impromptu filler matches in between more meaningful matches. I don't mind that at all. This just wasn't good. Therefore, the most fair placement for this contest is in the bad column, right? I can't call it ugly because I don't mind filler matches in between more important matches. But I also can't put it into the good column because there was literally nothing in this segment or match that was good. I love R-Truth. But if I'm going to make this a legit, fact-dropping, truth-telling review, then I have to be honest with myself first. This goes into the bad. Lashley and R-Truth in their 3-minute fiasco, unapologetically, unremorsefully, goes into the bad column. So we're 2 matches into this thing, and this is not starting off good at all. We have 1 in the fucking ugly, which again, guys, when we do the final tally in the end, that ugly gets crossed off. So basically, we have 3 in the bad right now. That is not good. Can these sons of bitches pick themselves up? Can the third match start a different trend and the trajectory start to go uphill? Let's find out. The third match of the night was for the Smackdown Women's Championship. Champion Bayley with Sasha Banks in her corner taking on challenger Tamina Snuka. Simply put, number 1, this wasn't a train wreck. So that's a plus. Number 2, Bayley played the role of the heel beautifully during this match, and even Tamina played a believable threat. I was willing to forget the lackluster decade that was Tamina's career, because Bayley and Tamina found the perfect balance of chemistry with one another. Number 3, Bayley won, Tamina lost. That's what should have happened, what needed to happen, and what did happen. That's always a plus. Number 4, last but certainly not least, Sasha Banks out there looking like the Cracker Barrel crashed into IHOP and it created a mega meal named Sasha fucking Banks. Damn! Damn! She was out there, Sasha Banks was out there in this tight red leather outfit making motherfuckers drool. She's walking by making motherfuckers' necks turn. Twisting motherfuckers. Straight up twisting motherfuckers. You got Zelina Vega over on Monday nights turning heads. You got Sasha Banks flooring motherfuckers where they stand. They are upping their fucking game. I'm trying to watch a match between Bayley and Tamina, and I got Sasha Banks walking around the ring like a fucking Tootsie Pop, waiting for me to lick the shit out of her. I cannot tell you. I cannot tell you. Anyway. You mix all of this shit together for all of these reasons. And this is actually going into the good column, guys. We finally have one in the good. I know, you're shocked. BC, a Tamina match into the good? Listen, Tamina played her part well enough last night. The chemistry she had with Bayley was there. The match itself was not a train wreck. Sasha Banks added a lot, especially for the Amplified man, but just for the wrestling capacity as well. And Bayley winning the match was absolutely the right fucking call via a pin, not some schmozzery. Now, I know a lot of people were waiting for a Sasha Banks-Bayley turn. Not so fast. First of all, even if that is in the plans, Vince McMahon will change his mind again in a blink of an eye. So don't hold on to the fact that you think it's going to be Bayley and Sasha at SummerSlam. It very well could be. We're hoping. But I wouldn't put it past McMahon to change those plans. And as of right now, we're all talking about Sasha Banks eventually getting a championship. How about we start with Sasha Banks winning a fucking singles match? She has not won a singles match on TV, television or pay-per-view since November 8th. It has been over 6 months, over half a year, and Sasha Banks has not won a singles match. Let's concentrate on that first, guys, and then we can start talking about championships. Anyway, there was enough good in this for these two to be kept out of the bad. And listen, as much as people call me the overly critical negative guy in the community, the mean guy, the bad guy, the boogeyman, you know what? I'm also very fair. I may come across as very negative. I may sound like I'm very mean and I'm very overly critical, overly analytical. But the point is, guys, I do everything I do in truth, fact, and fairness. And I will forever do that. They did enough to stay out of the bad. So this goes into the good, man. And that's what we want to see. I want to talk about the positives. I don't want to just shit on everything just because it's a shtick or it's the cool thing to do in the community, right? There's enough knuckleheads in this community that have that shtick. I'm not one of them. Everything I say will be in fairness. Just because it's a Tamina match does not mean it automatically goes into the ugly column, and I just showed you that it doesn't automatically go into the bad either. It goes into the good, unapologetically, unremorsefully. Match number 4 of the night is the Universal Championship match. Champion Braun Strowman taking on challenger Bray Wyatt. I love the physicality out of these two from the jump. Bray reminded everyone that he's actually a good pro wrestler. We're always talking about how insanely entertaining he is, that we forget that that boy can go in that ring. And what that did last night was force Strowman to raise his game to the next level. Now, I said from the get-go that if Bray doesn't win this match, they better at least book him strong. Well, we saw during the finish of this match that Bray did not win the match, and they did not book Bray strong. So you're thinking automatic ugly column, right? Or at the very least, this is going into the bad column. But not so fast. You see, during that finish, when Braun had the Wyatt family mask on, you heard Bray Wyatt screaming out, "I told him to give me a chance. I told him, give me a chance. I told him I'd find you." The him that Bray Wyatt was referring to, of course, is The Fiend. But Braun, of course, baited Bray and subsequently defeated Bray Wyatt. What this now does is force The Fiend to complete the mission that Bray had failed at. This is a good story to be told, guys. And when the title changes hands eventually, because it will, it's to The Fiend, which makes the most sense. And in the process, you give Braun a fucking break, instead of constantly making him a fucking joke. Everybody wins here if they continue this story. It's clear that Braun Strowman is just there to give the championship to the next person in line. He was a last-minute replacement, literally, for Roman Reigns. They've already tragically killed off Braun Strowman. They gave him 3 pushes, big pushes, and each time they swiped the rug from underneath his feet. They took his push away every time. There was many reports that he just doesn't know how to act backstage. Signs of immaturity we were hearing. And if that's the case, Vince didn't want to totally give him the ball. Listen, we don't know the exact details. We just know that this dude was pushed 3 times, and all 3 times, his push was halted. Stop. The drop of a dime. It was yin and yang. It was 50-50 booking at its worst for Braun Strowman. He finally wins the fucking heavyweight championship, the universal strap. And what, a few weeks later, he throws it over to Bray Wyatt? Not even the Fiend? I'm okay with throwing Braun Strowman a bone here. In the way that Bray Wyatt finished that match and saying, I told him to give me a chance. I did right by him, basically. But now the Fiend is going to be pissed. You did not complete the job. Now the Fiend has to come out and take that title from Braun Strowman. I like this, guys. And I love long-term storytelling if done correctly, so I'm on board. Now, if this tragically goes wrong and the Fiend does not take the strap from Braun Strowman, I will look back at this match and see what a colossal failure it was. But because I'm envisioning what should happen and what we're hoping does happen, this is going into the good column. I like this. The Mr. Rogers type Bray Wyatt character played his character off beautifully. You threw a bone to Braun Strowman in the process, and the Fiend will end up taking the title from Braun. We just have to have a little bit of patience. I like this. This goes into the good column. So I know that shocks you guys, man. It's even shocking me. Because again, those were my 2 criteria before Money in the Bank even hit the airwaves. I said Bray either has to win or they have to book him strongly at the very least. Bray didn't win and he didn't look very strong. But the way they did it, the way they actually pulled it off, it makes sense. I'm not making any fucking sense. I need another coffee. It makes sense if this story culminates the way it should. Not just because it's something we want to have happen. No, this isn't about fans getting their way. This is what just needs to happen. The story is sitting right in their lap. The Fiend now has to come reprimand Bray Wyatt. The Fiend has to punish Bray Wyatt somehow. And then the Fiend ends his mission by taking back his championship. You dropped it because supposedly the bigger mission for you was to take care of the John Cena problem. Well, you took care of that at WrestleMania. Now get your championship back. Not Mr. Rogers, Bray, the fucking Fiend. Again, this goes into the good column. Heading into match number 5, we currently have 1 in the ugly column, 1 in the bad column, and 2 in the good column. So we need match number 5 to deliver right now so we can even this up. Because don't forget, guys, at the end of this thing, that ugly gets crossed out. And it becomes 2 more into the bad column. So technically right now, it's 3-2. And this is a bad pay-per-view. We need match number 5 to deliver to even this thing up, and we can have a tiebreaker going into the double main event ladder matches. Let's see if match number 5 could do just that. It was for the WWE Championship. Champion Drew McIntyre taking on challenger Seth Rollins. This was an enjoyable match to watch. It was physical, lots of ring psychology on display, both superstars playing a strategic game on both offense and defense, taking risks while trying to avoid mistakes. And the overall presentation of the match, I feel, delivered and then some. And for the record, never did I think it wouldn't. I just couldn't stand the fact that we've seen them in the ring together 17 times beforehand within the last 15 months. That type of redundancy is just unacceptable. But it's the cards that they and us were dealt, and they busted their asses and put on a successful performance. Claymore out of nowhere puts Rollins away, and Drew McIntyre retains his WWE Championship. Post-match, Drew and Seth actually shook hands in respect for one another. I like it all. And let's be honest, Drew losing that title just weeks after winning it at WrestleMania to Seth Rollins last night would have been nearly as tragic as the finish to Rollins and Bray Wyatt from Hell in a Cell 2019. That would have been unacceptable. Drew McIntyre won this match. That's what should have happened, what needed to happen, and what actually happened. There's no way this goes anywhere but the good column. This was nowhere near ugly. It sure as hell wasn't bad. If I was forced to come out with a decision on what column to put this into, blink of an eye, snap of a finger, on the spot instantly, I put this into the good column. I'm not going to lie to you. I don't understand the handshake. They were trying to build Seth Rollins up as a legitimate top heel in the company. I don't see how you do that by shaking your top face or one of your top face's hand in defeat. Unless this story isn't over and Rollins does something severely dastardly on tonight's Monday Night Raw to Drew McIntyre, like that handshake was just a ploy. There's a lot of shadiness behind it. That's the only way I could see this going. Or this is the beginning to another face turn for Seth Rollins. And if that's the case, why the fuck did you just give him some new heelish music? Because his new theme is pretty damn heelish. It fits Seth Rollins, hell yeah. But I don't see that type of theme music for a face. It was odd. I liked it because we just saw a pretty damn good match between the two. So there are those moments where you like to see the ultimate sign of respect afterwards in two superstars, especially of the caliber of Rollins and McIntyre, shaking hands. There's something about that is that's pleasurable, right? There's so much respect behind it. We know how good both superstars are. So there's a part of me that really liked that handshake, but there's another part of me saying, what the fuck are you doing? That was almost as cringe as seeing Becky Lynch hug Charlotte Flair. You guys remember when Nia Jax punched Becky Lynch out of the Survivor Series 2018 match with Ronda Rousey? Becky Lynch couldn't compete, so they had to find a replacement. It was Charlotte Flair. And Becky Lynch, who was supposed to be this badass, and she got that badass character by turning on Charlotte Flair. Not really turning, but beating the hell out of Charlotte Flair. She was tired of playing second fiddle to Charlotte Flair. So you guys remember at SummerSlam 2018, she beat the hell out of Charlotte. And then, just a few months later, Charlotte's her replacement to take on Ronda Rousey at Survivor Series, and Becky Lynch is hugging her. Even Becky Lynch afterwards says she shouldn't have done that because that was stupid of her. Becky Lynch said, I don't know what I was thinking. That did not fit my character at all. At least she recognizes that. But we still all had to watch that on our television sets. Or if you were there live in attendance, you were like, what the fuck is Becky doing? Charlotte is everything you were against. Now you're handpicking her? It made no fucking sense. Picking her is one thing, because maybe you've been to battle with her, you know how good she is, but then you fucking hug her like you're best friends. Listen, we know how tight you are in real life. On your television set, or in that ring, you don't fucking hug the motherfucker. Anyway, I know I'm going back in time, but that was cringy as fuck. I don't understand this handshake. A part of me really enjoyed it, the other part of me cringed. What do you guys think? It was definitely out of place. This is something you would see if you had two faces having an awesome battle, and in the end, they showed the ultimate sign of respect for one another. This was not two faces. This was an ultimate heel, supposedly. I don't understand it, man. But everything else went off without a hitch. There's no way this goes into anything but the good column. Very well done by both superstars last night. And again, more importantly than anything else, is the right superstar won this match. That's something you can never really account for all the time in this company. Moving on. Match number 6 and 7 of the night. So now we're tied, guys, going into this double main event. There's going to be 2 separate tallies here. One for the women, one for the men. So we could still remain tied after this main event, which means then we go to the kickoff pre-show. But going into this double main event, we are tied because that ugly will eventually get crossed off in the 2 bad. So we're basically at 3-3 right now. 1 in the ugly, 1 in the bad, 3 in the good. Again, basically a tie. Where do we begin? This was absolutely nuts. The double main event held at the same time at WWE headquarters in Stamford, Connecticut. The women's and the men's Money in the Bank ladder matches. The women, Dana Brooke, Nia Jax, Shayna Baszler, Lacey Evans, Asuka, Carmella. For the men, Rey Mysterio, Daniel Bryan, Baron Corbin, Otis, AJ Styles, and Aleister Black. Asuka jumps off a fucking balcony and onto all the other females to start this thing off. Then Asuka hits the elevator, the other ladies are forced to take the stairs, and we are off and rolling. Meanwhile, the men are brawling in the hallways, the gym, even the bathroom, where Bruce Pritchard himself, Brother Love, exits one of the stalls and lets out a big ol' "I love you." Ha ha! Oh, come on, guys. I can't be the only one that remembers Bruce Pritchard. Nobody remembers Brother Love? He used to scream out, "I love you." Ha ha! He used to have the Brother Love show, man. You guys got to do your research. He was one of the fucking best. He's actually head of creative. Well, let's be honest with ourselves. Head of creative and everything is Vince McMahon. Nothing gets on that. It goes into that ring or onto our television sets unless Vince McMahon is approving it. But Bruce Pritchard, Brother Love, is actually one of the head guys leading the ship on the Blue brand. So there's a little bit of a fucking a nugget of information a lot of people don't even realize. I know a lot of people think it's just Vince McMahon, but no, he's got a fucking filtering process, and at the top of the heap is actually Brother Love, Bruce Pritchard. He comes out of the stall tucking in his fucking pants. It was funny to me, man. I always love seeing the old timers come back. Even Doink the Clown made a cameo. It's a long story. I'm not going to get into it. At one point, Dana Brooke thinks she's won the match, but Stephanie McMahon informs her that she's in the Money in the Bank conference room, not the roof. Definitely a blonde moment here. That's no shade to blondes, man. I love the blonde. Listen, a lot of my girlfriends growing up, all blondes, I love them dearly. But none of them were the brightest, though, I do have to admit. I know it's a stereotype. I'm having a little bit of fun in this review. Relax. I love the blondes out there. But this was a blonde moment. How do you know you're not on the fucking top of the roof? Clearly you have walls around you and you have a roof on top of you. Right above you. Carmella. Fucking, I'm getting my blondes mixed up now. Dana Brooke thinks she's won the Money in the Bank contract. I love that. I love it. And again, that's the character Dana Brooke, guys. We're not laughing at Dana the person. The character thought she won the match. That's brilliant. I loved it. Stephanie McMahon walks in and she's like, "What the heck, Dana? No, you didn't win. That's not even the right briefcase. What are you doing?" Absolutely love that part, man. Then again, everybody had a blonde moment when they came across Paul Heyman in catering, and everybody busted out into a food fight. Guys, I'm not gonna lie to you. A lot of this match, most of it was actually comical, right? They did it in a way where it was supposed to be a lot of fun. And they did that, right? If this was supposed to be a lot of fun, it definitely was, or at least for most of us. But the food fight was the one moment in the match where I cringed. Because it's one of those moments that just exposes the business a bit too much for me. It crosses the line, and I know you could come up with a million things and say, BC, really? X, Y, and Z all happened in a matter of 2 minutes, and the food fight is what crossed the line for you? I know, and you'd have a point. But it's just, for me, the food fight was a bit much, and it was not needed. You know, that's where something that should still be taken serious, even though we're supposed to be having a lot of fun with it. It's still for two prestigious briefcases that are going to mean so much to two individuals going forward. It should still be taken as something serious. And the food fight just made it for me seem like something that was an absolute joke. I mean, I don't mean to nitpick on it, but this is a full throttle, as honest as you can get review. There's no way I can put it. That food fight really took me out of the game at that point. And again, I was having fun with it up until that point. You're all beating the hell out of one another, and then you just stop, and you're like, food fight! Because that's exactly what happened. Otis just screamed out fucking food fight, and everyone's like, yeah, let's do that! I don't know, man. It took me out. Speaking of Otis and food, Otis found the kitchen where John Laurinaitis just happened to be hanging around. He's like rolling around in his fucking little Scooter 5000. And Otis puts a pie into the face of People Power. While D-Bry and AJ Styles stumble into Mr. McMahon's office, where, yes, you guessed it, Vince McMahon was actually in his office. He's like, what the fuck are you two doing? He didn't actually say that, but you know what he did. Mr. McMahon kicks them both promptly out of his office. So Styles and Bryan leave the office. Before they even leave, they're like, oh wait, and they start fixing his chairs and his furniture because they didn't want to get screamed at by McMahon. And then Styles and Daniel Bryan exit the office, and they're like, and Styles is like, you were scared, man. You should have saw the look on your face. And Daniel Bryan's like, yeah, well, you went back and fixed the chairs. And they're like, yeah, I did, didn't I? And then AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan just continue their fight that they were doing before Vince McMahon yelled at them. So, guys, this is some, they were funny, you know what I mean? These little cameos with Bruce Pritchard, Brother Love, and Doink the Clown, and Vince McMahon, and Stephanie McMahon. I liked it. You know, I mean, if you have 45 minutes at least that you need to fill with these two matches, and you're not in a ring, you don't have a crowd in front of you, you know, you have to really depend on some comedy, some fun, some cameos. You know, you have to have those moments. I feel they had them. I know a lot of these may have made a lot of people cringe more so than it did the Amplified Man, and for that, I totally understand. But you just knew if you were a WWE corporate, you had to come across Vince McMahon at some point. The ladies hit the top of the roof first. After several minutes of brawling, lo and behold, Asuka wins the... I can't believe I'm saying this. After years of screaming and hooting and hollering and ranting at that company to finally utilize Asuka, Asuka ends up winning the Women's 2020 Money in the Bank match and contract. This is a fucking phenomenal outcome. If and only if they begin booking Asuka correctly going forward and as a viable, real deal threat. If they continue to yin and yang her and 50-50 book her, then this was all for naught. I love this outcome of Asuka standing tall in the end, but just as important is what they do next with her. For this night, and in this match, this goes into the good column. Again, this is just for the women. We'll get to the men in a second. But for the women's part of this, Asuka retrieving that briefcase, I'm putting this into the good. Because since Asuka has gotten to the main roster, I have screamed, I have hooted and hollered and bitched and moaned and complained and ranted that Asuka deserves these moments. Not moments like losing her shriek to Charlotte Flair at 34. Not moments of being irrelevant and in obscurity for months and only thrown a tag title because AEW put their first women's championship on their Japanese talent Rio. And then days later, Vince is like, whoa, well, I have Japanese talent. Let's put the titles on Asuka. And they were just as meaningless with the fucking championships. What the fuck happened to Asuka? I've been asking for the better part of 2 fucking years. More than 2 years now. Last night was the moment that I've been bitching for and ranting for. So there's no way I'm going to watch that moment unfold and then go, that was stupid. If they book Asuka like a true, viable, real deal threat from here on out, no more! No more! 50-50 booking! And you listen to every fucking word that I am speaking right now because the fun is over. The fun ended in that match last night. I am serious. You had her win that contract. You do something with her now! This is her career, her livelihood, her life. It's not just a 9-to-5 job that she punches out at 5:15 When her area's cleaned up and she can finally leave and go home. This isn't one of those deals, man. She left from Japan to come to the United States, to move into Orlando, Florida, to be the dominant superstar that she knows she is. Just to be fiddled with, fucked with, for over 2 fucking years. Since she's left NXT and gotten under the thumbs of Vince McMahon. It has been a tragedy what has happened to Asuka. She wins the big one last night. Or a big one. The big one will be when she wins the championship ultimately. Does Vince allow her to do such? That's in the way, future. Up front, first and foremost, do something with her now. Stop the bullshit booking with Asuka. I can say that same spiel for so many superstars, but let's just stick with Asuka right now. You gave her that moment. Go with her. She will not disappoint. It's fucking Asuka. It's clear to me that Kairi Sane is gone. We've heard the rumors for the longest time. I will be absolutely shocked if Kairi Sane re-signs with WWE. You gotta believe that's done, because it looks like the Kabuki Warriors are done. It looked like Asuka wanted to leave too. Maybe this was a consolation prize to Vince. Hey, if you don't leave, if you re-sign, we're gonna make something out of you. And then he gives her the briefcase. But then once she signs, she goes right back into obscurity, right? We saw that with Sasha Banks. She comes back to WWE after raising concerns. She wasn't happy. Vince said, oh, come back. You know what we'll do? We'll start using you better. We're going to put you in a championship match with Becky Lynch. Hell in a Cell. Sasha Banks was the hottest thing in fucking pro wrestling with The Fiend at that time. Do you guys remember that? This was just months ago. Right after SummerSlam. Sasha Banks came back. You go back and you look at the reaction right around the time The Fiend was so strong. It was Sasha Banks and Bray Wyatt. Those were the hottest things in pro wrestling. And what happened after Sasha Banks lost that Hell in a Cell match to Becky Lynch? Sasha Banks went right back into obscurity. Again, I said in this review already, Sasha Banks has not won a televised singles match in over half a year. But Vince was able to bring her back because he said, oh, well, we're going to book you strong. Yeah, he did for one pay-per-view, and that was it. I hope this is not one of those cases where Asuka was promised the world, gets a briefcase, and gets nothing more out of it. That's my concerns with this, guys. I have drastic concerns because I know how the old man operates. But think about what I am saying right here. Asuka has just won Money in the Bank 2020. That's phenomenal. All of us have been complaining for this to happen, right? And I use the word complaining loosely. That's what everyone says we're doing. We're really just ranting on the fucking truth and the fact of what should have been happening the whole entire time. That's what I do on this channel anyway. I drop the facts and the truth. If people don't like it, tough shit. I'm still gonna drop that shit. Asuka finally got it, man. I can't even... I can't even believe I'm saying those words. I mean, I honestly thought... Knowing Vince, he would have had Nia Jax win that son of a bitch. If he was truly listening to the fans, or if he was doing what is right now for the individual that needed it the most, he would have went Shayna Baszler. He didn't go Nia. He didn't go Baszler. He went Asuka. It's almost like he's trying to rectify his wrongs for the past 2 years. Very odd to me that he chooses now, but beggars can't be choosers. And I'm just glad it finally happened. Asuka got her fucking moment, man. And it's a moment that is long overdue. And we all can agree on that. This is a moment long overdue for Asuka. But it all, just as important as her winning that briefcase, what happens next is just as important. Again, that goes into the good column because it's fucking Asuka. And long overdue. Now back to the men. Once they all hit the top of the roof, the real brawl is on. No more food fights, just last chance desperation. And as AJ Styles and Baron Corbin are fighting atop the ladder over control of the briefcase falls from AJ's grasp and into the hands of Otis. I said... The briefcase fell from the top of the ladder, the grasp of AJ Styles and Corbin, into the hands of Otis. Thus, Otis was declared the 2020 Men's Money in the Bank ladder match winner. Otis. What in the actual fuck just happened? Otis? Otis? But that's what happened. Guys, I'm not even making this up. Otis won the fucking match last night for the men. And it's just like fucking Asuka. There's a part of us that's like, fuck yes. But then the other part of us, the other half of us instantly thinks, but this only works if they do right by him afterwards. It's the same thing with Asuka. This whole thing only works if he gets booked properly going forward, but this company doesn't deserve the benefit of the doubt because it books everybody tragically. So now at the same time that we're just hoping that they book Asuka correctly going forward, we now have to have the stress of hoping they do the same thing for Otis. I mean, do you guys honestly envision Otis cashing in and getting the championship? I mean, I can totally picture the pop he's gonna get. Can you imagine when a crowd is back in attendance? Otis's music hits, he comes down the aisle at a fucking just a pristine time. He's going to get a huge, massive pop. But what are you going to do? Are you actually going to throw the title on him? Otis is going to be one of your faces of the company? We all love Otis. You guys know how much I love Otis, man. He is such a character, and I deserve a lot too, probably, watching these shows. I deserve a lot. Otis deserves so fucking much because his character is top notch. He puts so much into it. He's fun to watch. For a big boy, he's good in that ring. So he deserves a push, there's no doubt already. And I hate to use the word deserve in pro wrestling. Because the pro wrestling fans, everybody deserves everything. But Otis truly deserves this push because he's one of the bright spots in the entire roster. But damn, I didn't mean like throw him a Money in the Bank briefcase. I would have definitely pushed Otis, but not this way. So this has me befuddled. I know this pretty much shocked the entire pro wrestling community. It had to have. It's not like one of those, wow, I can't believe that just happened shocks, but it is a minor shock. I mean, we thought Vince McMahon would be putting it on Baron Corbin. And if he listens to the fans and did the right thing, it would go to Aleister Black. I could totally picture Aleister Black in that just dark black suit, walking around backstage with all the smoke as the ambiance, and he's got that briefcase, like a legit threatening businessman. And his business is fighting. His business is whooping that ass. And he's got the briefcase. I could totally see Aleister Black, and the pop that Aleister Black would get when he finally cashes in would be off the fucking charts. There's no doubt in my mind the right thing to do here would have been Aleister Black. But it could have been Baron Corbin, knowing Vince McMahon. So again, this is a beggars can't be choosers type situation. I mean, it's almost like McMahon met you right in the middle. Otis is not a necessarily bad thing. He's got a hot storyline right now with Mandy Rose and the whole Dolph Ziggler Sonya Deville thing, but what does that mean? Dolph Ziggler now gets another championship? No, what the fuck? He would have to win the championship soon, and then the Dolph thing would have to still be going on with Otis, so that would be a year-long feud. We don't need to see that. But who do you feud Otis with is my point, when and if he finally gets the championship. Who's going to be his big feud in the future? I just don't see it, guys. Do you? If so, that's awesome, because again, I like Otis. I want to see this. I just don't see it. I think Aleister Black could have done so much with that briefcase. Otis, what do you do with heavy machinery? Does that mean that Tucker is just now thrown to the wayside? Is he the Marty Jannetty to Shawn Michaels? Is he the Stevie Ray to Booker T? I just don't see it, but the other side of me loved seeing Otis. And the way he did it, too, he just looks up and his briefcase is falling down at him like a fucking shooting star. And Otis is like, yeah! Guys, the match, if you call it that itself, was enjoyable. It was fun for the most part. I could have done without some things like the food fight and such. But I didn't mind the match. The women, again, seeing Asuka hold up that briefcase was phenomenal if done correctly going forward again. And for the men, seeing Otis win the briefcase, it was cool. I liked Otis. I'm glad for him, and I'm proud of him. And it'll be interesting to see where they go from here. So I'm going to put this into the good column. Because I don't see how I can't throw Otis that type of shade. I have to give Otis, if not Vince McMahon, if not the company, I at least have to give Otis the benefit of the doubt. Because this is what we've been asking for, right? The right pushes for people. Right? We want to see people like Aleister Black pushed, Asuka, and Otis. This is a weird way to do it, but he's actually doing it. Otis is getting a mega fucking push here. I can't shit on that. Because it goes against everything I preach on this channel, and I will come across as a fucking hypocrite contradicting myself. I'm not going to do that. If Baron Corbin and Nia Jax won their respected briefcases last night, this would have been a fucking shit show that would have still been being reviewed for the next foreseeable future, for the next 7 days. I would be getting amplified for 7 fucking days straight. We didn't have Nia Jax and Baron Corbin. Unfortunately, we didn't get Shayna Baszler and Aleister Black either, but we did get Otis and Asuka standing tall at the end of the night. If that doesn't make you smile, man, then that's on you. That's pretty damn cool. These are 2 superstars I want to see a lot out of in the future. I just really wished it would have been Otis and Tucker as a tag team in a division that is supreme, because we know the tag division is so fucking horrible. But I wanted to see the tag division built up, and I wanted to see Heavy Machinery built up as legit superstars, then eventual #1 contenders, and then legit champions. I don't know what happens with Tucker now, but it looks like Vince is really high on Otis. He's getting the fucking rocket. I'm not going to shit on that. Asuka and Otis win this thing. I'm willing to see where it goes. Both go into the good column. So, when this was said and done, guys, this is going to be a 5-3 good pay-per-view. Looking back at it, is it something that I will watch again? Most likely not. Maybe that main event ladder match just to pick up on things that I maybe missed the first time around. I think that would be kind of fun. There's probably a lot of nuggets in there that I totally missed. So I might watch that main event again, and that says something at least. But everything else with no crowd in attendance and all that, it's kind of depressing. But because of that, because of what's going on in the world and no crowd, and to put on a decent show like that, I think 5-3 is fair. Beyond fair, actually. Let me know what you guys think, man. That was the Amplify review. And for everybody that calls me the bad guy in the community, the overly negative guy, the guy who's too critical, I mean, I know I'm a dastardly fucking asshole. Look at this review I just did and you call me all those names. That's fine. But you better also call me fair. Because what I do is right down the middle. Better than anybody. I assure you, this isn't shade to anybody in this community. Nobody does what I do at the level that I do it because I put so much fucking dissection of detail into it. And I do that not for fucking my own shits and giggles. I do it for every single one of you because you deserve that type of review. If you're going to instill your trust and your time into these reviews, I'm going to make sure that you're getting the best, the most full throttle honesty, the most detailed, impactful review that I could possibly give you. So you can call me a bunch of names, you can disagree, you can hoot and holler, you can call me the asshole, but I just ask that you call me fair, because that's damn well what I am. This was more of a fair review than I possibly could have ever given, that anybody could possibly have given. 5-3, given the circumstances, given the performances that everybody gave, the new pushes that we're seeing, one should have been all along, one befuddles us, but we're willing to give it a chance. Couple of good title matches. 5-3. Much love and respect to every single one of you. And again, to the newer subscribers that just joined today, welcome to the Amplified unit. From here on out, expect recordings just like this one. Amplified to the core. Always think, be, live, amplified. We're gonna do this again tomorrow morning for the Monday Night Raw review and reaction. Check you later.